Hey everyone. Today we're going to take a look at midline, amplitude, and period within within a problem situation, as well as answering some questions when presented with a graph and being able to answer them. So in this first situation here, we have a Ferris wheel, which is called the Dubai Eye. And this is currently kind of in construction, might actually, be completed at this point in time. But when completed, we know the height is 210 meters, and it will complete a rotation in 48 minutes. So if I'm taking a look at this graph here I've got minutes, and then this is going to basically be your height in meters. So as kind of the Ferris wheel is turning, this ends up being the ride that we end up getting. And then, this can be modeled by a Trig function. So our questions that we have are basically, what is the midline, what is the altitude, and what is the period? Instead of altitude, we could actually put amplitude here. That's probably a little bit more correct. And that might be true on the other problems as well. So the important part here is that, we shouldn't necessarily be eyeballing this because we have a mix. We have this graph and we have the information up top. So this is 210 meters. So the midline on here is probably going to be 105. Okay, so we don't just want to say 100 if I can say with more accuracy. So here this is going to be, going from 0 to 210 is the minimum and maximum, so my midline is going to be 105 meters. The amplitude is the distance between the midline and maximum, or the midline and minimum. So if I know that my max is 205, this distance and this distance, let's go for pink, end up having that same value. So that's also going to be 105 meters in this case. And those we can kind of see, if we have something that basically starts at 0 and goes up to some value, then we'll probably find out that the midline and amplitude end up being the same. And then what is the period? Again, this is a few different ways to find it. A recommendation that I have is, if we do have the maximums and minimums, to go from one minimum to the next minimum here in order to get that value. And again, while this seems like, I'm not sure, 46, 47, but we actually know for a fact that this takes 48 minutes to make a complete rotation. So that distance ends up being 48. So here I might even include my units. So we're going to say that the period is 48 minutes for this particular graph. What is the height of the Ferris wheel after 15 minutes? Well, we don't have an equation, so our best that we can do is really to look on our graph and say, okay, at 15 minutes, I end up being at this location here, and that looks pretty much like 150 meters. So I will just say that. How long into the ride will it take before you are at a height of 80 feet? So assuming that we've started, basically at 0 minutes, this would end up being that amount of time. So it looks like just before 10 minutes. So we can say 9 minutes. Or actually, and this should also be meters here. So this should be about 9 minutes. And we can reference that these two were approximate answers versus the exact answers above. So these 4 problems are really just a practice. I don't consider anything necessarily a new skill, but we are dissecting some problem situations as well as looking at them in context when we're asking the questions and when we're answering. So we definitely want to take a look at that. There will be another video for today, but the first kind of activity is finishing up these 4 problems. Thanks.